Create a Life You Love podcast, the go-to podcast for people who are called to make a positive impact through the power of coaching. You'll hear encouraging stories from coaches sharing their journeys and their lessons learned along the way, tips from top experts who help coaches thrive in their life and their business, and so much more. So if you're ready to create a business and a life of impact that you love, let's get started. Hello, everybody. Hey, Gwen. Hey, Selena. How are we doing tonight?
Doing pretty good.
Doing great.
Awesome. Super excited for tonight's show. It's going to be amazing. Thank you, everyone, joining us live on the replay or listening in after it is out in the podcast world. For those of you who are maybe new to us, my name's Chantal Cox. I'm an author, speaker, transformation neuro coach, and a certified life purpose coach. I save purpose-driven coaches from feeling stuck and frustrated so that you can get off the hamster wheel and make the aligned impact that you are destined for without overwhelm and burnout.
And I am Gwen White, a quantum human design specialist and certified virtual coach. I work with powerful, creative, highly sensitive, introverted women through the lens of human design, a system that brings together ancient wisdom and cutting-edge science to explain who you are and how you can become the best version of yourself by following simple strategies. And before we jump in with our amazing guest, I want to give a brief shout out to our sponsor, the Create a Life You Love membership, an active and growing community of passionate, purpose-driven coaches who are up-leveling in the most powerful ways to increase their knowledge, momentum, and impact. For more information and to apply, check out createalifeyoulove.com coaching/membership today.
Awesome. We have so much fun in our membership. It's just amazing connecting with everybody. Okay, quick reminder. This episode is being streamed live to Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. We use a program called Restream. So feel free to share any comments and questions in the chat. And if you are watching on Facebook Live, please be sure to allow permissions at chat.restream.io/FB for Facebook. And that will just let us know who we are chatting with. So thank you for doing that. All right. We are so excited to be here today with my new friend and our special guest, author, speaker, and licensed psychologist, Selena Jackson, who is a PhD. Selena is an empowering poet and presenter who enjoys giving voice to the silence and guiding others on the path to self-discovery and inner healing. Over the summer, she published her debut poetry collection, The Healing Poems, and it's a transformative coming-of-age edition that speaks to the emotion-filled highs and lows of youth, where one struggles to make sense of the ever-changing process of self-discovery and life. And then just this month, All Along You Were Becoming was published, and that represents the reality of discovering beauty from ashes. And this latest poetry collection transports you on a heartfelt journey where love is lost, faith is challenged, and hope is restored. Welcome, Selena. We're so honored to have you on the show. How are you?
I'm doing great. And I just want to thank you both so much for having me be here. I'm really excited to talk with you today and jump into the conversation. I have a good feeling about it.
Heck
Likewise.
yeah.
Likewise, we are so thrilled you're here. I would love, in fact, for you to tell us a little bit about your journey to creating a life you love through your work as a psychologist, a speaker, and an author. Who do you write for? What got you started? All of those things.
Yeah, so I would say I started writing pretty early in life and never for the idea that I would ever publish it or that the world would ever see anything that I wrote, but really just as a way of processing my own emotions early on in life. The Healing Poems, which is my first book, I actually wrote a lot of those poems in high school. And fast forward 15 years, as a licensed psychologist, I look back at those and I realize kind of along the journey of making sense of situations that I've experienced in life, making sense of, those highs and lows that we deal with as we just journey through life and process the things that are happening to us. And I realized that, I've been slowly creating this life that I love, even while I didn't realize it. And I've kind of woken up at this point, kind of post COVID, post all of these other things, and realizing, okay, I've actually really created something and want to be able to give that back to the world and not let myself and maybe my own concerns or anxieties get in the way of me being able to do that if it empowers other people to create their own life that they love. So it's been a journey and it's been worth it. And now it's out to the world.
Nice. I congratulate you on your courage in sending, your art, your creativity out into the world. That is, I think, one of the biggest challenges for all of us as creators. So kudos to you.
Thank you.
On sharing your gifts. So important.
100%. Definitely. As both Gwen and I are fellow creators, and then we have this podcast where sometimes we get a little authentic and vulnerable. And then, as a current self-published author, and I know Gwen is working hard on a book as well, especially when, Selena, you have captured some really authentic and vulnerable emotions and put that out in the world. So, can you talk to us a little bit about what that experience was like?
Very vulnerable, for very, very much so. I know I probably wrestled with whether or not I was going to put it out into the world for probably about 2 years, because it was, a lot of very deep personal words that really felt that I really felt protective over and, wanted to keep it safe, not really sure how it was going to be received by the world. And so I really had to sit with, okay, do I keep what works for me to myself, or do I lean into that discomfort? And if it impacts one person for the good, then I've succeeded. So I just kind of went with that and said, if one person gets something out of it, then that is what I'm here for. It's still a little nerve-wracking, I'm not gonna lie. I would like to say it's getting easier, but it's just getting less challenging in the process.
That's awesome to have the awareness of that growth within yourself and the expansion of your comfort zone. Very exciting. Any
Exactly.
tips for our listeners that may be working on a book, or sitting on one that's done, but are really scared to hit that publish button because of that fear?
Yes, I think being honest with yourself about what worries you, because it's easy to just avoid the uncomfortable feelings about putting it out there. Um, I would also say tell people that you trust that you're actually sitting on it, because I have one friend who knew that I wrote for many, many years, and she was always in the back of my head going, "You should publish that. You should publish that." And I happened to mention it to other people that are in my life now, and they were saying, "Oh, you should publish that. I would buy it. I would read it." Just having people to maybe hold you accountable, but to also just be that supportive person for you, I think is really, really helpful. And then I love the saying, feel the fear and do it anyway.
Ooh,
Do it scared, do it concerned, do it worried, just kind of own that you're nervous and you don't know what's going to happen, and do it anyway. If you need someone to look over it, edit it, do all of those kind of things, and then hit the button and then just see what happens.
absolutely. Oh, great advice.
It is totally. And I love that you shared with your own network first, your own circle. I think so many of us think that we're going to be off-putting sharing with those we know, we've like we're pressuring them, but they are our first champions. And so, you talked about kind of holding back your gifts, with the people that know and love and trust you already. Why not? Yeah,
Mhm.
it is like such a great first step for anyone who's starting any kind of a venture or
Yes.
launching any kind of a creative pursuit. So yeah, it's
Mhm.
really simple but brilliant, and it's so oft forgotten.
Mhm. Very much so.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, what would you say was kind of some of your initial inspiration to write and publish these books?
Mhm. I would say I would like to think it was some profound thing, as far as writing goes. It really wasn't. It was something I think I saw on TV that, like, some character in a show was writing, and I saw it pretty early on in life, and for whatever reason, it really connected with me. Um, and it was something of, oh, I'd like to, like, be an author of a book one day, and I just kind of like went on with life and didn't really think about it much more after that. um, but I think I really like the idea of putting pen to paper. I love kind of being in that flow, and I grew in the skill of being able to do that and like get in and out of that over the years. Um, and then I went to graduate school for almost a decade and I didn't write because I was so busy doing college and degree and all those things that once I finished, I really missed it and I
Mm.
wanted to get connected to it. And it was a struggle. It was actually a really hard struggle to tap back into that creative side of myself. um, and I remember being really frustrated that something that used to flow pretty easily for me was like hard work. Um, and so I really just got to the place of having to then look at what inspires me, what helps me tap into emotion in the first place, and then try to like get the words out on paper. Um, but that's really kind of where the inspiration's been for me is just being able to get words out and then letting other people have a language to even talk about how they're feeling. Because
Mm.
so often I think we filter a lot of our words, a lot of our emotions, and it creates this like inauthentic facade, and that's really not actually helpful for us. So those are really my inspirations. Is it just kind of came naturally and I just went with it, struggled with it, and then re-tapped back into it. So mhm,
I love
yeah.
that. And that it's been ongoing for
Mhm,
most of your life. Just really, you've been drawn to writing. It's been something, yeah,
mhm.
that you were just really drawn to. That's amazing. So I do want to share, you have some watchers, live watchers. Abigail Mather says, woohoo, Selena Jackson. And
Thanks, Abby.
and Janine says, the writing isn't my struggle, it's sharing and promoting what I wrote.
Mhm.
There we go.
Yep.
Um,
Exactly.
yeah, and so Janine, if you've been with us for a few minutes and you just heard some of Selena's tips for that, if you just jumped on, you'll want to rewatch the beginning couple minutes because Selena did share a little bit about that. And it was very powerful. You'll appreciate that.
Absolutely. It's so interesting how it seems to be a common theme with a lot of the creatives that I know and work with, or in some cases live with. My husband is a highly creative person, but yeah, that those periods of time where you're pulled away from that pursuit for whatever reason, whether you're just go through a period where you're not inspired, or in your case where you were focused on essentially another goal, another achievement, and then getting back into it, and the frustration, the struggles that, yeah, ensue. And it's like, how in the world does something like that become so elusive?
Mhm.
And so for you to really dedicate and commit yourself or recommit yourself is, I think, even that much more admirable because it is so easy to let those creative pursuits just go. And, I think particularly in our culture, in our society, we're not necessarily terribly supportive of the creative arts, um, writing, poetry, even though some of our biggest heroes are actually creative people, you know, by and large, we don't support those pursuits. So I'm really um, just in deep admiration for you for getting it back to it and really, yeah, getting it all back out there
Mhm.
and pulling stuff that you had written from the past and essentially sharing those formative pieces.
Mhm.
Um, Again, yeah, like most writers would probably be mortified to do something like that. Yeah, to really bear that part of their soul that's so young
Mhm.
and, you know, maybe feels so inexperienced.
Mhm.
Really cool. Um, One thing, kind of a theme I've noticed about your work is its connection to mental health. And I would love for you to share about how your latest book
Mhm.
um, relates to mental health awareness, or even your first one.
Mhm. Sure. I would say probably my second book was maybe a bit more intentional for it to relate to mental health. And because, like, just in my own work as a clinician, I really enjoy working with people who are struggling with their own identity, their self esteem, self worth, building healthy relationships, and finding themselves along the way in the journey of life. Um, and so when I kind of put pen to paper for that particular book, I did have that in mind. It's somewhat based on my own journey of finding self esteem, self worth. I think I thought I kind of knew what that was, and different life events shook that foundation. And I
Mm.
really had to sit with, okay, I don't really know if I know who I am. What do I want to walk away with in myself at the end of the day? And really, when you look at the book, it's divided into various chapters that almost like progresses the reader through each phase of
Mm.
feeling that, life as they thought it was is not actually what they envisioned, and going through that process of mourning that loss, of waiting for it to almost right itself. Um, there's themes of faith in all of my books, and that was one of the things that really helped me kind of walk through the journey. And so you'll see some of that come up in different pieces of it. Time in the book, you see that the reader, or me as the writer, is gaining that self-esteem, that self-awareness, that identity, and learning my own voice, and learning to have that internal sense of stability. I think sometimes with our emotions, we can just be a leaf in the wind. And across the book, you see that place of, I'm comfortable with who I am in my own skin. And regardless of whatever's going on around me, I'm not shaken. I know who I am. And so that's why I entitled it All Along You Were Becoming, because you find yourself along the way. And then when you get to the end of a certain phase or a certain point in the journey, you look back and you see how it all actually worked together, and it worked out, and who you became because of the hardship, because you were in that fire of life. Um, so when you look at the cover of it, you see the person kind of coming out of the flames for it.
Mm.
Um, and so it all, in my mind, kind of ties together of, got to walk through the fire, you come out refined. So
Mm.
mhm.
Beautiful. And I love that you do talk about faith. I mean, sometimes that's all we have
Mhm.
to get us through. And yeah, that's a very deep place in and of itself. And it is the one thing that stays with you, hopefully, through the
Mhm.
entire journey. Really
Yes.
beautiful.
Yeah,
Yes.
So
it
good.
really is. Um, so I love that you've really used writing to help you through your life, kind of overcome some of those struggles. We've all had things like you talked about, identity issues and things like that as we're transitioning to new versions of ourselves. I know that's a big thing. And so, how do you feel that writing could really benefit people that are facing some type of challenge, whether it's mental health challenges or wherever they're at?
Oh, yeah. As a therapist, I usually give my clients some writing homework at least a few times during our therapy together, if not repeatedly. Um, I think it's really helpful to just slow down that internal process of the emotions, because if sometimes it feels like, our emotions can be going 90 miles an hour. We're upset, we're anxious, life is happening, and it's hard for us to make sense of like that tornado that's happening inside. And what writing does is it makes you slow down and you have to organize your thoughts on what you want to actually say, which means you now have to think about them one at a time
Hmm.
for it. And it lets people start to tease apart, how do I really feel about something, and gain that self-awareness. Or I realize I don't have the words to say what I'm actually feeling. And when I have clients who say that to me, I just say, that's okay, write that down. Write down, I don't even really know what to say, but here I am doing it anyway. This is the situation I'm writing about. Start there. Um,
Hmm.
I think writing for processing emotions is a skill that we don't necessarily always feel like it comes natural to us, especially if we're just not a writer in general. But I mean, there's research out there that shows that it helps reduce stress, it helps reduce the anxiety, it helps express gratitude if someone's experiencing depression. It lets them get out of the emotional whirlwind that could be inside and actually have something that they can even look back on later in life and see, okay, I was there in 2019. I'm not there in 2022. I've come this far. And I think it's a really wonderful tool. And even once someone writes it, to have them go back and read it out loud to another person, like their therapist. One, it's very vulnerable, and you actually have to now process out loud to another person. And two, there's something about the kind of brain vocal connection where being able to say it instead of just thinking it allows you to process it even more deeply. Um, and so I love giving my clients writing assignments. They will even sometimes write, yes, Dr. Jackson told me to write, and so I'm writing. Here I am, and I'm like, that's okay too. I don't care. It's fine.
I'm curious, when you write, you talk about putting pen to paper.
Mhm.
Do you encourage those who pick up a writing practice, or the people you work with through your practice, to write by hand, or do you just encourage them to write however they write?
Mhm. Yeah, I usually encourage them if they're physically able to write by hand. I've noticed where people slow down and they're less distracted if they're writing by hand. They get to put their phone away. They're not getting text messages in the middle of it, all of those other kind of technological things.
Mhm.
And they're more likely to keep a journal and kind of keep up with it over time than it was in my phone, it was in the notes section, I lost it, whatever happened. Um, and I've had feedback where I've had some people who've done it on their phone and their notes app, and then they've done some on paper, and they say, I feel like I just focus more when I'm sitting down to write. So I would say if you're physically able, try to handwrite it.
Absolutely. Yeah, it seems like there's some brain connection that's made,
Mhm.
when you physically write. And I always encourage the people I work with to write. I do a lot of contemplative sort of work in that way, but I always give them permission to write in the way that works best for them. But yeah, I always wonder, like, should I be strongly recommending that they handwrite? And maybe I should be.
They could, and you could recommend it and see if they see a difference. And then,
Right.
yeah, because once a person sees a difference, then you don't necessarily have to push as much because they kind of recognize how beneficial it might be for them personally.
Exactly. Hmm. Such good work.
Absolutely. So you work a lot with your clients and you bring in writing and you're really helping them process some pretty challenging emotions. So how, like, do you have any special like process or tips for the audience of how to process some of those challenging emotions?
Mm. Yeah, I would say, one, be honest with yourself. I kind of go back to that a couple of times with people is, be honest with how you're actually feeling about something. Um, and I think too, I always encourage them, there don't have to be rules to how you write about something. You can just write a paragraph to start off with. You can write 3 sentences just to start off with. I tend to work with younger adults, so they're used to writing for school. And I'm like, it doesn't need to be 12-point font, space, double spaced, all of that. Just write until you're done with it. Um, and I would say, you know, depending on the nature of what you're trying to process through, I would encourage people to have a therapist to work with in that process. I think general journaling is fine, but if you're trying to process, maybe trauma, severe depression, those types of things, you want to have extra support with that. So you're not just kind of ripping off the band-aid and you're not knowing what to do with the emotions now that you've uncovered them. Um, and so I think there's left to the journaling on your own, and having that support really is essential depending on what you're trying to do.
Yeah, I really appreciate that you have some. The only word that's coming to my head is like caveats, but yeah, there are some um, emotions or challenges that it is very important that you do see someone like yourself, like a professional licensed therapist, and really get the help that you need to process those. And then there's kind of journaling for self reflection and growth, and there is a wide spectrum there. So, yeah, I
Yes.
appreciate you
Mhm.
targeting that. So Janine is still with us live. Super excited. She is also an author, and so we were talking about pen and paper versus typing, or I know some people speak, dictate their writing. So her comment was, "Pen and paper last. They don't get digitally, quote unquote, eaten by your device," with a little winky
Mhm.
smiley face there. So yes, I think we've
Good
all,
point.
yeah. We've all had that pit in the stomach of like, "Oh no, like, did I just lose
Mhm.
everything?" And
Yes.
probably more so back in the day, like, I'm just envisioning, like, writing papers as, like, a 4th grader and,
Mhm.
on the Microsoft Office, and if you didn't hit save, it was gone if, like, the
Yes.
power went out or something.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. There was no autosave back then.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
Oh,
That's
man.
funny. Well, let's circle back a little bit and talk a little bit more about the books. I would love for you to share a little bit about what you hope readers take away when they read your
Mhm.
books, when they delve into them.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that initially when I wrote them, I wasn't sure what people were going to take away from them. And I've been getting a lot of feedback from people that they've been using the books to process grief. They've
Wow.
read some of the poems from my first book, The Healing Poems, read them at someone's funeral services as part of the program.
Wow.
And I never imagined that someone would apply it in that way. Um, I've had other people message me saying, that they really appreciated the frankness of the writing. And so I guess I would just hope that people they find a they find in them that there is a realness to the world. I think so often we have a mask on as we go through life, and that we can either, in any extreme, really kind of see the world through rose colored glasses or see it as it's all burning up and falling apart. But that reality of life, that there are ups and downs, there's ebbs and flows, there's questioning faith, there's questioning relationships, questioning yourself. And that is part of the journey. That's just a normal part of life. And at the end of it, you can have something beautiful if you stay in the journey with it. And so I guess that would be what I would encourage people to do, is stay in the journey with life, get support people to help you get through the journey, because it's hard. And that's the reality of it. Learn yourself along the way. That self-awareness piece is so incredibly important, because when we don't know ourselves, it's really hard to know why we're reacting to something in a certain way, why we are dealing with something in a certain way. And I'm hoping that the books give people language to be able to say, I feel misunderstood, or I feel like there's a line in my second book that says, I fell for you before I ever stood up for me. And really just sitting with that, of knowing yourself before trying to dive into things with other people, is really, really important. So I hope people take that away, that they grow, that they learn themselves, they find self-love, they find, reconciliation with their faith, and that life is a journey. It's a process every day.
Indeed. Indeed. Wow. Um, I mean, what powerful feedback you're getting already from the people who are enjoying these books that you've put out. I mean, like, how amazing to find that someone is, sharing these at a funeral. Like, what a tribute.
Mm-hmm.
And, um, but yeah, for the living, they really are here for the living. And yeah, they can help people understand, that the things they consider mistakes in their lives are just a part of their lives, and they don't have to be stumbling blocks. They can just be learning opportunities to build upon.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. So writing for fun and journaling versus like writing and coming up with a product that's ready to be put out in the world, and having that amount of dedication and discipline to do not one but two books, and go on to big degrees, PhDs. I mean, all these things are things that lots of people in the world talk about but don't necessarily do, because it takes that level of discipline. So I'd love to hear, like, do you have any habits that you incorporate that really set yourself up for success while accomplishing these very big goals?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say they're probably very simple. I think people normally think that there's the like end all be all, some like holy grail of wonderful steps and habits. I always tell people, especially when like doing a PhD, you're doing something that takes years, is half of the battle is deciding to show up. is that 50% of the battle is just showing up every day, because it's so easy to want to avoid doing it or finding excuses. Um, so that's the biggest thing is show up. And once you're there, you're more likely to do something in comparison to not being there. Um, Other things, just as a professional, I use my PTO. I take vacation. Um, I'm one of the few people where I don't max it out at the very end of the year. I don't have a huge pot left. I have enough to get through if I need an emergency amount of time. But I use that time sometimes to just either do a staycation at home where I just clean and I get my life in order and I have appointments for myself or things like that. Or I travel. I like to travel a lot and I just kind of fly around the country in my free time. But I think the key to that is just finding those things that help you take care of yourself when you're doing something that requires you to show up every single day. And in whatever it is that you're doing, you might be showing up every day for other people. It's not necessarily for yourself. And so if you're giving and giving, it's really hard to give out of an empty cup. So finding those things that help you feel human again. There's a lot of talk about self-care in society, lots of definitions of it. I tend to just define it as what are the things that help me feel human. That means I get up maybe 30 minutes early and just sit on my couch and drink coffee before I have to go to work. And it's just my quiet time. I have a candle burning and it's just peaceful moment before I get up and go about the rest of my day. In the evening, I like to wind down, watch a show or something where I'm uninterrupted, and that's my day. And so I think those are those key things are show up and find those little ways to take care of yourself, whatever that is, because it's a really long journey and burnout is real.
Oh,
So
yes, it is.
yes.
yes. And as we all know on different levels, that if you don't pause and take care of yourself, something will inevitably make you stop and pause and take care of yourself. Whether that's, you get an illness that, like even just like the stomach flu or something that you're going to stop and pause and heal for a little bit. So yeah.
Yeah, good point. Absolutely. The universe has ways of shaking us into reality when we decide we're going to ignore it.
Yes.
But yeah, I love the idea. Particularly, we talk a lot in our membership about a personal success ritual and that it be something that works entirely for you, that it's not a set of chores. It's, some things that you do that ground you and prepare you and that feel nurturing, but that you can do on a dedicated, consistent basis and that feel good to do over time. And I love the idea of just grabbing your hot cup of coffee and chilling on the couch with a candle burning. I think that's a really beautiful kind of meditative practice and it feels very nurturing. So yeah, I love that. That sounds really great. Journaling, I think, would be another brilliant one.
Yes.
Selena, as you look ahead, what's next for you?
I have, oh gosh, we've had conversations about this where publishing a book opens up a world that I did not imagine myself stepping into, yet here I am. And so I actually did my first book signing this past Saturday. And that was exciting. That was just so much fun. My friends and family hosted it for me at a local coffee shop in my hometown, and it was great. I had people from high school, like teachers in high school who came out to buy books. So just for this month, I have a few more events that I will be at selling books and signing them for people. As I go into next year, I have some book ideas in the back of my mind that I am kind of working on in the middle of other life transitions, and so that is kind of what's down the pipe. Would be maybe something else by the end of next year. So we'll see.
How exciting. Yeah. Well, I hope you'll keep us posted and
Yes.
definitely let us know when you're having book signings, wherever they may be, so that we can share with our listeners where you're going to be. And of course, that your books are available. We'll, of course, be sharing how to get those. But books, in particular, books like these, make beautiful gifts. And with the holidays coming up, I can't think of a better, more beautiful gift than something like this.
Absolutely. Yes. And I definitely want to be kept posted of all the Wichita events so that I can come and get my signed copy of the books. And I'll definitely be sharing that because a lot of my audience is here in Wichita, like we are. So, yay.
Perfect.
Um, so, Gwen set us up beautifully to kind of take it to, how can people connect with you and, connect with you, follow you, get the books, all the things.
Yes. So both of my books are on Amazon. Um, so you can order from there. And as far as social media, I have an Instagram page that you are welcome to follow. I update it periodically with new content. And I think those are probably the best ways to connect with me so far. I started a website, which it was all part of this new venture that I've taken in life. So it is live as well, journey to hopeandhealing.net. There are links to my books on there. There's links to resources I'm developing that are on there. And so I hope people reach out and take a look at my Instagram and take a look at some of the previous content, some of the newer content that's coming out recently. So, yes, please feel free to follow me on there and message if you'd like.
I love it. So, also on your new beautiful website, you have a freebie, a tip sheet. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I created a Tips to Hope and Healing sheet on my website. It kind of walks through a fair amount of the key points we've talked about today on just, what are some of those quick things that you can do to help work through the healing process for yourself. So I encourage people to take a look at those. There's 4 tips on there. And again, just take a look at the resources. I hope they're encouraging for you. Share them with others that you feel like they might benefit from them. Because life is hard and it's hard to do it alone, and we don't know everything. So it is there for your resource.
I love it. So, everyone, definitely be sure to go connect with Selena, check out her books, and get the free tip sheet.
Absolutely. We'll be sharing, of course, all of those links in the show notes. So as you're checking out this episode on your podcasting platform, you'll easily be able to find Selena, her books on Amazon, her website, her tip sheet, and her Instagram. So by all means, go find her. And we would love to know what your takeaways were for today. What value did you receive from this episode? Please share it with someone that you think would benefit. And we would also ask that you please leave a podcast review at ratethispodcast.com. We deeply appreciate your feedback and your support. So please check out ratethispodcast.com/CALYL and drop us a quick rating You can do that quickly and easily from your mobile device.
Yeah. And as a quick reminder, we are in the last few days of our holiday sale where you can join the Create a Life You Love membership for 50% off of your first month. And again, the membership has three current masterclass series going on. And one of them is creating an impact through podcasting. So whether you're wanting to start a podcast, increase your reach with your podcast, or increase your impact by getting on other people's podcasts, we've really spent a good look in trying to compile templates that we personally use, tutorials that will help you with any tech, and resources and considerations to help you wherever you are on your podcasting journey. And then when this series wraps up, due to member request, we are actually going to be moving into creating an impact through self-publishing. So if you really love this episode and hearing from Selena, who's a self-published author, I will be walking you through some of the things that I did to get my first book out there. And so that if that is a way that you would like to spread your message, you'll want to come join us for that. And then the second current masterclass series going on in the membership is Supercharge Your Productivity, which Gwen leads. And it's absolutely like life changing and designed to take you from unfocused, scattered, and overwhelmed to completely and 100% laser focused on the things that matter most to you and successfully getting all the things done to accomplish your vision. And she does a really great job helping you set up your personal success ritual, which we talked about earlier, designing what that looks like for you in an aligned way, in what time of day, how long, what activities, things like that. No cookie cutter morning routine shoved down your throat or anything. If you don't do well at 5:30 in the morning, we're not going to be like, you have to get up at 5:30 in the morning or you suck. Like, not how we roll.
Exactly.
And then the third current masterclass is the Alignment and Transformation Through Human Design series. And so, whether you're brand new to human design, a human design guru, or anything in between, Gwen's taking the membership on a journey to uncover the best ways to use your design in your personal life, in your business, and in your coaching practice.
Absolutely. Yeah. Such a tremendous amount of value. Plus all of the support through the app that Chantal set up so that you have access to us as coaches, to all of the members. And we're constantly in touch with each other. There's lots of bonus group coaching calls, one-on-one coaching calls are available. So please consider joining us and doing that with the 50% off offer.
Yeah.
And of course,
sorry,
yeah.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, use the coupon code Grateful22. That's all caps, all one word. And that'll get you that 50% off for your first month. And we'll keep running that for this episode will come out next Monday. So probably through next week. So that kind of that first week of December. And then we'll close down our holiday sale.
Absolutely. Yeah. And speaking of next week, Chantal and I are excited to offer a 2022 reflection episode where we'll be reviewing the past year and discussing end of year stats and an effective workflow that you can adopt and adapt for your own ventures. And of course, as we close out the year, we'll also be asking what a successful 2023 might look like and taking you on that journey with us.
Yeah, we look forward to sharing all of that. So be sure to tune in, and you can find us live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central in the Create a Life You Love community, or you can catch all of our episodes wherever you listen to podcasts and on YouTube. And so, same time, same place next Tuesday. Enjoy the journey. Thank you so much, Selena, for being with us today.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. This has been wonderful.
Amazing. All right, everyone, enjoy the journey. Thank you for listening to the Create a Life You Love podcast. We would love to hear from you about your biggest takeaways. Share them with us on Facebook or Instagram at Create a Life You Love Coaching. If you love this episode, be sure to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It's very much appreciated. If you're ready to build aligned and sustainable momentum without overwhelm and burnout, we invite you to apply for the Create a Life You Love membership on our website, createalifeyoulovecoaching.com/membership. That's it for now. Enjoy the journey.